Hey guys, this is Eric Young, and you're listening to Booking the Territory.
This is the One Man Gang. You're listening to Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast.
This is Booking the Territory, a pro wrestling podcast hosted by Mike Mills, Hardbody Harper from Wildcat Sports and Entertainment, and the mentally irregular Doc Turner. This podcast is a mix of your topics and thoughts in the world of pro wrestling, along with interviews and discussions with current independent stars and your favorite stars from the past. And now, here's your host, Mike Mills.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel, where this week we are airing our discussion with Marshe Rockett, one of TNA Wrestling and Impact Wrestling's newest signings as of April of 2016. We had Marshe Rockett on our normal podcast that we do, our audio podcast that is not on YouTube, where we cover the results of Raw and we discuss ROH and TNA Weekly, and this is just the interview portion of that particular podcast in April. However, if you are tuning in to the YouTube channel and our discussion with Marshe Rockett, I would ask for you to give us a shot if you are a pro wrestling fan and check out our review shows that we do every single Tuesday usually. It airs at 10 p.m. Central Time wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Tuned In Radio, Podcast Addict, you name it. However you get your podcast, we are on there under just search Booking the Territory. This particular episode is with Marshe Rockett that I am about to air. Marshe was a guest of ours in April of 2016 as he talked about how he got his start in professional wrestling and how his TNA Impact Wrestling signing came about and how all of that went off. This is being recorded and put out there on YouTube as of May the 8th, 2016. And as of this time, Marshe has not made his debut yet with Impact on Pop, because that's where Impact is currently airing, but we hope to see him real soon. But check out this conversation with myself and Marshe Rockett. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Marshe is a really good dude. I'm looking forward to seeing him make his debut. If you enjoy the show, like I said, check us out, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from, Booking the Territory. Just search Booking the Territory wherever that is, and we will come up. Also, follow us on Twitter at BTT_podcast. Give us a like on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Booking the Territory. We also have Booking the Territory podcast t-shirts. If you want to check those out, you'll see that scrolling in the video if you're sitting there watching it. And but you can click the Shop Now button on facebook.com/Booking the Territory where you can get your t-shirts from. Hey, use promo code SHIRTOID20. You can get 20% off your entire order. This is Mike. Thanks for tuning in to this week's YouTube episode of our podcast, and subscribe to us on our audio version if you do enjoy the show and enjoy professional wrestling as a whole. Thanks again, and I'll throw it over to my discussion with Marshe Rockett. Hey, first, I appreciate your time coming on and doing the show for me. I always tell the guys that because I worked the indies in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, and from what I saw from you, one thing I know is everybody that comes on, I tell them, look, I know your time's valuable, so that's the first thing. That's why I appreciate it. But so I do this show, and I've had on a few Ring of Honor talents like Donovan Dijak. I had on Beer City Bruiser a couple months back. I've had on this week, our show won't air for a couple of weeks, but this week I've got on Brian Fury, who was in the Top Prospect Tournament. I've had on One Man Gang. I've had on Michael Tarver, Sam Houston. But you the first TNA person I've had in almost a year. So when you agreed to do it, I was like, man, that's good, man. I'm glad. I figured I'd reach out to you, and you were cool enough to say, yeah, I'd come on. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate you reaching out, man. That's awesome, dude. I'm always looking forward to doing podcast interviews and just trying to get my name further out there, and this is always good ways to do it, and plus too, just talking about to different people about the whole wrestling journey and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, I just like doing it, man. So I appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, no problem at all. Like I said, I'm glad to do it. You'd be surprised. There's the thing is, there's so many darn wrestling podcasts nowadays that I know for a fact because I know so many guys in the business, like some of them get tired of doing them.
Yeah.
So whenever I reach out to somebody I don't know, like you, I know it's 50-50 on whether, somebody wants to do it or not because there's so many of them and guys are being pulled in to do so many. Now, I not only interview the talent on the show, we also do reviews too. We talk about Raw, we talk about WrestleMania coming up and all that other stuff. Like I have a couple of co-hosts, but I'm the one who generally does the interviews for the show. So I'm glad you came on, man. I know you're excited, and we'll get into the TNA talk in a minute. But I know you must be excited about that. After having worked, how many years you been doing this now?
A little over 13 now. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
started in 2000 and 2003.
Dang.
So yeah, because I got into it like right after I like graduated high school. Uh,
Wow.
so I was doing because I found a wrestling school. At that time, it was called Windy City Pro Wrestling. So when I
Right.
was going to college, I was also doing that. So I was doing both at the same time, and didn't get my first two matches roughly after like 6 months worth of training. And so, because
Okay.
I was like going every day, like classes were um Tuesday, Thursday, and like Saturday mornings, and then sometimes like the trainers would come in like an extra day or something like that. But
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like consistently there every day. Sometimes
Yeah.
I would beat the trainers there. Either wait for them sitting in my car or something like that, and waiting like to for them to open up the doors, and then just going through like all the process, like conditioning, training my body, learning the craft, trying to perfect uh, everything being taught towards me so that I can get into the ring as soon as possible. Because the second I found a school, I was like, man, I'm geeked. I'm not going in this like half ass or just saying, well, I just want to give it a shot, and no, I wanted to be the complete package, and the only way to do that was, of course, to dedicate all of my time and my efforts uh, in doing so. So within that
Yeah.
within that 6 months, man, it was like, I mean, it was grueling, but as you can see, it was well worth it.
Yeah, and it like you said, man, you got started young too. If I mean right out of high school, man, that's awesome. And then the thing is 12, 13 years, I'm sure because it's been that long and you've worked the indies and you've taken this journey that to know where you've come now. And I had to do some research, like, because I wanted to look you up, see some of the stuff you've done. I was like, man, if he's getting this opportunity now at TNA, that's pretty damn awesome. After the long journey, because it's kind of like I was talking to Brian Fury, and Brian runs the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and he's been doing this for 17 years, and he was in the top prospect tournament with Ring of Honor, and he made it to the finals against Leo Rush. And like I look at a guy like him, and a guy like you who have worked at it for so long on the indies, just clawing and scratching, right, to get that break.
Right.
And like talk about like how, if you can talk about how much that means to you after all those years to finally feel like you're getting a break.
Uh, Dude, it feels. You know what? When the second that I like was offered the signing, I felt like this huge. I don't want to say like relief, but I mean
Right.
that's as close as I could. It was. It wasn't so much as being signed; it was finally getting that validation. And
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of like wrestlers like myself coming up through the indies we ultimately look for, because at the end of the day you don't want to, when you're in the gym late or you're waking up early to like to train, when you're on the road, when you're basically looking for that validation that all of your hard work is not going for nothing.
Yeah.
And the second that happened for me, when I got offered the deal from TNA, was like, man, like finally, like somebody who is is just taking notice, because everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to be noticed. Finally now to get that validation was just like, oh man, like I'm not gonna waste any opportunities. I'm not gonna take you know uh all that has occurred to me for granted. Like now's the time to really show the world what who Marshe Rockett really is. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was just, I mean, talk about like just a rush of emotions all hitting you. 13 years of rush of emotions just hitting you all at once. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine, and I'm comparing it to like when I was talking to Beer City Bruiser, Matt Winchester, I mean, he didn't say it like that to me, but he was like, I went to the Ring of Honor tryout camp and he's just like, after all those years, it felt like, wow, I went to this tryout camp with just the expectation I was just gonna go and do the tryout and who knows what happens and I'm paying this money and then he's like, out of the blue, it's like you get signed, and it's just a week. I don't. He didn't talk about the rush of emotion or the validation, but I can sense that now when I look back on what he was telling me, based on what you're telling me on it, because it's like a culmination, and it's like the end of one chapter. Would you agree with this? I look at it when you tell me validation, it almost sounds like the end of one chapter, but the start of another.
You know what, for the past couple of days, I've gotten that same uh people have commented, like either via Facebook or Twitter. People have kind of said that, like, the end of one journey, but like starting a new. Like for me, and just my eyes, I still feel like it's that same journey. But I guess
Oh,
like
okay.
looking at it through different eyes, like people could say, I guess this is like kind of like a new chapter, because before it was just, it was just like the indie scene, but now even with TNA, it's more like on a more national, televised scale. So I was just like, oh yeah, this kind of would be like starting like a new chapter. Uh,
Yeah.
so I see kind of
Yeah.
both points.
Yeah, I see, but I see what you. Yeah, and you're like you said, it's the same to you. You're just, it's like the next level. I see what you mean. That's true. That's true. How did it all happen? Cause man, all I know is like I'll be honest with you, I I haven't been a long time viewer of TNA except since they moved to Destination America, like over a year ago, last January, and then now on Pop. And I'm a big Eric Young and Bobby Roode fan. So when they got let go, I was like, dang, what are they doing? But after reading some of the stories and understanding, like, like Bobby Roode said, he had just pretty much done everything he could do there. So it was kind of like, what else can I do here? So I'm like, okay. So I was kind of critical on our show of TNA a little
Mhm.
that week, but at the same time, I'm still gonna watch the product because that's one thing I do believe in as somebody who worked the indies for a while and in pro wrestling in general. I will support pro wrestling. Like I'll watch the product and I want there to be numerous companies because I want guys like you to get signed that deserve to get signed. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I say all that to say I'm still watching it and I'm anxiously awaiting like when you and the other four newcomers come on. But how did it happen? Besides the fact that you worked hard for 12 to 13 years, right? Like how did the whole signing come about? Like where they were able to find you and were impressed with your work and work ethic and everything that you could bring to the table.
Well, going back in regards to that, I used to work for, I don't anymore, but I used to work for an indie wrestling promotion. It's called Resistance Pro, and
Mm-hmm.
when I was there, of course, you know who Billy Corgan is, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Billy Corgan was the creative mind, uh, was part of creative at Resistance Pro. And
Right.
from the day that I met Billy Corgan, Billy's always told me, he was always, expressing to me that there's something about you. I can't place my finger on it, but there's something special about you. You have
Right.
that makings of a star. So Billy sort of, in his own way, kind of took me under his wing and was
Okay.
building me up to be that star that he envisioned. And I like the way Billy was doing it. I mean, he's got a mind. I mean, he's not only a great musician, he's a great creative. He's an artist in the truest of forms, because what he saw, like for a guy who was just came in from just a fan standpoint of view, and then just to step in and be this creative genius, I was in awe every time uh, I got to sit down and actually work with him. But once Billy left, and eventually I made my way out of Resistance Pro, before Billy
Hmm.
left, he says, "Hey, we decided to keep in contact with one another," and he says, when an opportunity like arrives, uh, you're going to be one of the first names that I'm going to make sure that gets the same opportunity. And I know how busy Billy is, so of course I was like saying, "Oh, yeah, I would appreciate it," but um I wasn't expecting, big things, or a phone call or anything like that, because I mean he still has his music. When
Right.
he finally got hired on to be creative for TNA, I was grateful, and I was like, happy for him, but it was still that long shot of him even
Right.
calling
Right.
me back up, and setting things up. So fast forward to literally like a couple weeks ago, that's when he first shot me a text. We went back and forth through text messages, and then he gave me a call, and expressing that, like, now's the time. Like, he pitched me to the TNA officials, and they liked what they saw. Um, so they were just like, "Yeah, we want to see this guy. We want you to bring him down." So of course, once Billy relayed that to me, um, it was it was kind of like a no brainer, but it was kind of like, at the same time, I was just like, um, like, not expecting like a whole like not expecting to be signed at all. If anything, I was going down just to be seen, and just to give him an idea, just to place a face with that was going with the name. Like, I
Right.
was not at all expecting to go out there and for them to say, "Hey, we want to sign you immediately." I was expecting
Right.
what I've gotten from, like, WWE when I've done tryouts for WWE. Like, I always went there, tried out. Some people liked what I did. Some people were just like, we might have to, let's go with this plan first, and we'll put him on the back burner. But it was still never like, sign that guy right away. So uh, once after once I got down there, and I met, Billy introduced me to everybody, the head of talent relations, the vice president, everybody coming in. And once I had my tryout match, uh, just the recognition for what, like, they saw, they were just like, "Whoa, like, this guy was as good or even better than what Billy um had originally, like, said." So I credit Billy Corgan a great deal with helping just provide the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because jokingly, he even said it to me. He's like, "I provided the door of opportunity for you. It's up to you to kick that son of a gun over." So I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
your guy to do it." So, and then, yeah, right after the tryout match, like they say, almost immediately, once I got back dressed and ready to view the rest of the show, like, they called me into the office, and the rest was history. Like, so sort
Wow.
of getting that validation that I had been looking for, just that window of opportunity. So,
So the announcement that let me ask this, because the announcement just came out. That's about 2 weeks ago now. Well, it's March 30th right now. This isn't going to air for a few weeks, but so the announcement came out, what, not even 2 weeks ago? A week and a half ago? I'm trying to remember when I first reached out to you when I
little,
saw it.
little over a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now when was the tryout though? So the announcement came out a week and a half ago, but this happened, I assume. How long ago was the tryout though?
The tryout was, like, literally, I want to say, almost last weekend.
Wow, so that did happen fast.
Yeah,
What I'm saying, what I mean fast is I know it happened fast where you got signed, which is awesome. Like you go to the tryout, Billy brings you in, that you meet everyone, you have the tryout, they sign you, so that like it sounds like as soon as they sign you, they had you on that profile where it's you and Pepper Parks and Cherry Bomb and everybody on that thing where they're tweeting it out and putting it on social media. So that sounded like it was like a bang bang deal, like right away. They signed you and then it was out there, you were signed.
yeah,
Is that accurate?
yeah, yeah. Well,
Wow.
because I think the rest of them, they obviously had their tryouts. I was perhaps like the last one, the last
Oh,
the
okay.
last of showing. The others might have a different story. They might have been. I know they've been seen quite a bit, whereas I was like the last one coming in, and sort of
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well, he's the last one. Let's just see what he has. And so I
Right.
just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And so they were just like, oh, let's well, instead of just having four, let's bring on all five. So
Yeah. Hey, preparation meets opportunity, man. That's what that was.
yeah, a great
I
deal.
mean, yeah, no, no, you were prepared for it. I mean, look, people. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I've knocked certain things that Impact has done and TNA has done over the last 2 years, but at the end of the day, I DVR it and I watch it because, like I said, I like to support wrestling. I mean, it's just I grew up a fan of the Territory days. That's why the name of my show is Booking the Territory, because I grew up in that era. Watching Mid South and World Class Divine Erics, and I mean to this day, man, I've gone through all of the eras, whether it was ECW, whether it was the Monday Night Wars, whether it was the Attitude Era. So I mean, I'm gonna support it and I'm gonna promote good, independent and good like TNA, WWE wrestling. So yeah, I mean, I've been critical of it at times, but at the end of the day, I watch it and I'm glad to see. That's a great story, man. I'm glad to see you getting signed and after all those years, and I can see how all that, like you said, that validation as you're telling me that story, because that happens so quick. It's like 0 to 100 miles an hour in a matter of a minute,
Yeah,
and I mean, a matter of like a second. So you do this tryout, and it's like, yeah, we're signing you. Like, I mean, did it almost like take your breath away when they said
it
that?
did. It did. It was one of the like, it was one of those times where it's just like, no, I don't believe you. Like, like you see somebody talking, but you're just
Right,
like, no. Like
right.
my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, she always used to tell my wife, and she still says it to this day. She's like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So I'm
Yeah.
having like these TNA officials talk to me, and they're saying all the right things that I want to hear, but in the back of my mind, I am just like, no. No, somebody. This is a joke. Somebody like, am I being punked? Is Ashton Kutcher gonna come out and is he gonna sit up there and say like, "Oh, we got you. Like you're not to be inside," and then so uh, I
Cause you
I was waiting for that other shoe to drop. I'm just like, okay, you're saying all the right things that I want to hear. You're presenting me with all this stuff right now, but are you really sure? Like, so that kind of crossed my mind. But once I signed on the dotted line, I was like, oh, okay, all right, so,
That's great. That's a great dude. That's great. It's ironic, man. My mom, God rest her soul, she used to say that too. She used to say that to me. If it's too good to be true, it's probably true.
yeah,
It's probably yeah. She used to say the exact same thing to me all the time. But I can see. And then like when you're telling me that story, so you know, in the wrestling business, guys rib each other
oh yeah,
nonstop.
all the
And that's the other part. You think everything's a work. You're like
time.
your brain your brain becomes fried by the fact that everything in the world is a work. Like I argue with one of my co-hosts, he's a manager down at Wildcat Sports in New Orleans. And my other co-host, he's never been in the business. He's just a big fan.
Yeah,
And he does not understand. I'm like, dude, everything's a work. Ah, whatever. I'm like, football's a work, basketball. I
yeah,
I say it all the time. And he's like, no, no. But so I say all that to say I could see your like your face in this conversation when they're like, "We're signing you," and then you're about to sign a dotted line, you're like, "Is this a work? Is
Yeah,
somebody working?
yeah.
Where's the rib at?"
Because it's like seriously, like what are the chances, especially like um, right after my tryout match just happened, like for
Right,
them to go
right.
back, quickly collaborate, and come back with an affirmed decision to want to even sign me. Because again, I've had tryouts with WWE, and after every tryout with them, it was the same. It was the same spill. It was the same, things that I've wanted to hear. But then, I would have to go and I would have to wait weeks later. So me and my wife were on like, pins and needles, like, well, we haven't heard anything back. Like, did they not like it? Were they just saying that just to say it? Or
So like, give me an example of like WWE tryout that you went to and like what they told you. Obviously, they give you good feedback, but it sounds like from what you're telling me, they give you good feedback, and were they almost hinting at signing you? But
You know what? It was, you almost couldn't. To be honest with you, I really couldn't tell because
okay, okay,
the latest tryout that I had was, of course, when they WWE and NXT traveled and they did the Arnold Classic. Now, not
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
year, but from last year.
Oh, last year, okay,
That was because Triple H was also being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame by
I remember
Rager.
that.
So I was
Yeah,
at
I remember
that
that.
tryout, and of course, it was a live tryout. So which means it was all like strength. So it was the live tryout to show the audience, who was all there, what it takes to be a WWE superstar, what it takes to try to make it to that level. And I have to say, I'm not knocking it. It was like the greatest experience that I will ever have. I will always carry that experience around with me. But it was just like after everything that I had gone through, it was one thing after the other. Like they were telling me, like, "Hey, you're doing good. Hey, you might want to pick this up," and they're coaching me. Um, which was great. And so what
Right.
after the tryout was done, they thanked all of the participants, for being able to go out there in front of like tens of thousands of people that came through there to perform and to do everything that they had asked, and in front of complete strangers. Like, I mean, we're
Right.
used to it because you're in the business and that's what you kind of do on a regular basis anyway, but to be able to like do it and like not give in to any like pressure, like, oh, because not only are you being watched by WWE officials, but you're being watched by some Joe Schmo who really has never seen you, and
Right.
so you don't want to go out there and be that guy to just like fumble in front of officials and Joe Schmo. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
after after that tryout, I have to say I was feeling fantastic. I had felt like I had, busted through the glass ceiling. Like
Yeah.
I had finally shown and proven that Marshe Rockett belongs here. And then a couple weeks later, I was hit with there's no future opportunities at this time.
Oh
It
man,
was just like, and
I got you.
I had exchanged numbers with the guy who they had set me up as my roommate, and he had got the same letter. And again, it was because we were both told the same thing. Like, he exchanged to me what was said to him. I said, oh, they told me this, and we both walked away feeling like we had done about all that we could do to try to impress and try to show them, hey, we're coachable, we're here, we can do this. But at the end of the day, I guess once they went back, somebody said that they're not what we need right now. They're we're trying to go in this direction. So it was just sort of like, the same.
Yeah.
So I was expecting to wait weeks after I had my TNA trial, but they quickly collaborated, and they knew right off the back. They were just like, hey, it's you know we're basically what I've always said is like, hey, if If you don't, if you give me the opportunity and I don't produce, and then you decide to let me go, then that's fine. I am completely understanding of that, because at least you gave me the opportunity. But to sit up there and
Yeah.
tell somebody that, there's no future opportunities here at this time because, for whatever reason, without having giving that individual the opportunity, like I'm just like for real, you tell me uh everything good that I want to hear to my face, but then when I'm out of the room, that's when you tell me, "Oh, sorry, kid, we're going in a new direction." It's just like, it's a bit of a letdown, but
Yeah, yeah.
supportive loved ones and friends who tell you, "Hey, it's gonna be one day is gonna be your day. Just wasn't today, so just keep moving forward."
Yeah.
So
Dang. Yeah, no, I can see how that will be a letdown for sure, man. I mean, especially when you're being told that. But I'm quite sure, they're a very large corporate organization.
yeah,
And that's not saying they don't have a spot for you and you couldn't be successful there, but
right.
I, that's probably like their standard reply in letter
Oh,
form. Yeah,
I knew it the second I was like reading. I was like, oh, okay. And then
yeah,
when you look at where WWE is, like right now with who they've signed, Nakamura, when they got Finn Balor, now
yeah,
they got the phenomenal AJ Styles. Like a lot of their signings came from like New Japan. Some of their signings are coming, so obviously it's the international era that they're trying to bring about. Like they're trying to get as many international stars as possible, which is, I guess, is for them. It's what's best for business, because open
yeah.
up new markets and stuff like that. But so I
Well, it's repeating. It's repeating. To me, they're repeating history when they went after all the large talent in the territories around the country back in. I'm not sure how old you are, but I can tell you as a 40-year-old, that's exactly what he did when he started. I don't want to say killing the territories, but when they started like pillaging the different territories and the talent, like they went around and literally, plucked people off. It was like, Hogan from the AWA, and I mean, just eventually over years. Now Hogan was very early on, obviously,
yeah,
and the territory still lived for a while. But my point is, like they went after those big name stars in the territories, like Junkyard Dog and Ted DiBiase, and One Man Gang, and you start making that dent like that in all these territories, and then it I'm not saying that would happen with New Japan and they'll go away. I'm just saying like
right.
it to me it's cyclical. Like I saw a pattern kind of in that with the way they've done it with, signing AJ and Nakamura and the people that they're signing. So yeah, no, you're right. That does seem to be a strategy that they are leveraging and using right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole WWE network, and they're trying to reach other regions. Like, I get it, like
Yeah.
but I was just like, hey, you still got some homegrown talent here, and if you're really all about diversity, which WWE is, I was just like, hey, I'm here, like sort of like that one guy raising his hand while everybody else is like being picked and stuff. Like, no, no, I'm here. I'm available anytime. Yeah, got a wife at home. Love to have a job. Love to be here. You know,
Yeah, no,
and,
I hear you.
oh
I'm
yeah, you're
laughing, but
that
I can.
guy, and then you just keep walking. It's like, okay, all right. Yeah. Yeah.
I've known a couple of guys that have been in the system, like Michael Tarver was, and he and I have had a long discussion when he was on my show months back, and a couple other people who went through FCW, and it is a heck of a system to go through. I don't know anyone in NXT, but I say all that to say I think you may have landed in a really good spot because you're gonna have an opportunity now to shine with TNA. I'm that's my next question actually. What okay, like I said, we're sitting here, it's March 30th. When are you expected to debut with them officially? And I know you don't probably have a TV date and whatnot. I'm just mean I guess to go to your first tapings if you haven't already done so?
When is it? Actually, I know creative is like still working on it. Like I know
Okay.
they're still working on uh that whole aspect of when the debut and stuff like that. Basically, for me now is that now the real work begins because it
Yeah.
worked getting there. Now the real work begins. It's like trying to stay there. So right now, where my head is at is now that I'm here, I want to do everything possible to like stay here. So I'm just training my butt off. I'm in the gym. I'm still, the shows that I'm indie shows that I'm still currently booked on. I'm still hitting them up and I'm still letting them know like, hey, I will be at this show and so I'm still trying to keep everything, all the momentum in my favor going. So when the day
Yeah.
they say, hey, you're debuting. I just all I have to do is just lace up my boots and say, "Hey, I'm ready to go." So
Yeah.
that's where my head is right now.
Okay.
So
No, I was just, yeah, I was curious more than anything. And I knew as I asked that this is all recent, only a week and a half old at this point, that all of this, or a week old at this point, that all of this has happened. So I'll be looking forward to it. Like I said, I will continue to watch them and support them. It's it's an alternative. Like I was talking to, I don't know, have you ever heard of Hood Slam out in California, Oakland, California?
are they north or south?
They're in Northern
Northern?
California.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oakland. Well, I was talking to AJ Kirsch, who was a tough enough contestant years ago, like in 2011, I think it was, and he said it best to me on the podcast one day. We were talking about wrestling, and he was like, if you think about WWE, it's like one genre of wrestling, and you think about Lucha Underground as one genre. He's like, and TNA is one genre. So if like you don't have people, not everybody's gonna like the same genre. It's kind of like horror movies and comedies and dramas. They're all different, to each his own, right?
Right.
And that's kind of like how I see wrestling nowadays. Not that TNA is drastically different than WWE, but it kind of is
Yeah.
in a way. I mean, they don't do the same things. I mean, it's a smaller organization, but I think that can actually work to their advantage because you don't have shareholders to
Yeah.
satisfy, like a big corporation. You can see that with the whole PG era. That's one of the things that I like about, well, I have liked about TNA in the last few months is that, like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard like a Bobby Roode or James Storm curse on air.
Yeah.
It's something little, but it's ear catching to me, as they're telling their stories and they're going about working. So yeah, I'm looking forward to you being added to that mix and doing your thing there. What do you think, as I say that, um, just from you, what do you feel you bring to TNA that the fans will enjoy for those who haven't seen you and don't know much about you since you've been on the indies and you just haven't had that national exposure that you're now going to have?
I feel like I would bring like a fresh look, a fresh face to uh to TNA. Because a lot of people have seen a lot of like the talent, that's there now. But for those that haven't seen what I can do, like I've always
Mhm.
been mainly based out of the Midwest. A majority of the time, I've traveled to the East Coast, sometimes traveling down south to work indie bookings. But for the majority of my career has been towards like the Midwest. So like now, I'm gonna bring like just a fresh face, something, you know, my high flying, like my big build and everything like that. Like I'm going to show them something maybe nobody has ever seen before.
Okay,
So
that's cool, man. And you're a relatively big guy, aren't
yeah,
you? How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot 4. So, and I know
Okay.
usually 6 foot 4 guys, they're just, oh, that he's too big to do this and he's too big to do that. I've been told that, you know, numerous times. And then when I get out there and I show how agile I am, my speed, my stamina and everything, that was actually one of the things that Billy Corgan first took took notice of me. When he sees this big 6'4" agile monster jumping out of the ring, almost in literally. They always say like, oh, he's almost jumped into the first row. I have literally taken out fans because I've literally jumped that far or jumped that high onto guys, and like the fans just
Right.
even it goes from being it goes from being like enjoyment to, oh my god, this guy almost like took us out, but we're still so excited to see him. you know
Yeah, yeah, you can't beat that. No, that's good. That's good stuff. And I think there is like I said that when again I'll go back to the young and rude when they left TNA. One of the things I think I said on my show, or I don't remember if we were recording at that point or not, but I said that the good side of it, not really good side, but the positive side is whenever you do have like guys move on, the thing is that's an opportunity for fresh faces to build themselves because I always go back with pro wrestling. I mean, look, there was a time when people didn't know who AJ Styles was. There was a time when people didn't know who, Bobby Roode and Eric Young were
yes,
when they were just getting started in TNA, right?
right,
So you gotta at some point as a fan or even somebody who's in the business, you have to appreciate the fact that when a newcomer comes along, that's an opportunity to see something new and a new face that you can then get behind. That's for fans and workers alike, if you ask me.
exactly.
It's just that's just a big component of it. I mean, and people guys aren't built over. I mean, people don't just get over overnight. Like not to use over twice, but it just doesn't work that way. It
Yeah.
takes time. So I think that's the thing I'm most looking forward to, with not only you, but the other fresh faces. And I know like Pepper Parks and Cherry Bomb. I think they've done some stuff with TNA before, but that's the biggest thing with the five of you coming in. I think that'll be great with the product. So
Yeah.
man, congrats, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, hey, no problem. Hey, so are you from the north? Are you from Chicago or the Illinois area?
Yeah, I'm from me and my wife, we live in like the south suburbs of like Chicago, but mainly Chicago. We've been here pretty much our whole lives.
Okay. Man, it's cold up there, man.
Oh,
I've only been there a couple
you do
times,
not
man.
have to tell us. Like this winter was the most confusing winter uh I think ever witnessed. Like it's one day it's like 14 below, the next day it's like 65, then the next day it decides it wants to rain. So
Of course.
I mean, going down
Uh,
going down to Florida was a nice fresh of breath air. Of course, according to
oh man, I bet.
I
I
oh,
bet.
so this is what consistency feels like, where it's like 85 one day and it might drop to an 80, but it was like sprinkling rain. I was like, oh, you guys' weather isn't so bad down here.
Especially South Florida, because they really don't. I mean, it's very rare they get any kind of cold spell. I mean, like I grew up in New Orleans, and we would get. I mean, you maybe two, three times a winter get into the low 40s, mid 30s, but it's just when a strong front blows through. Other than that, it'll pop back up to in the 50s and 60s. But down there, South Florida, yeah, they're not getting too much of that 30 stuff.
I was just
It's
like,
not
stop,
happening
I
there.
gotta go back. I don't want to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, man. That's it. Yeah. So you this is not wrestling related, but you a Bears fan?
I am, yes.
Okay. Grew up at y'all ruined my season in '06. I just want you.
Sorry.
Yeah,
But
man.
I don't
No,
know. The Bears are
it's all
making
right.
the Bears. They're making like foolish decisions now, man. They getting rid of all like the key players, like Forte.
It's
Like
about
I'm just like,
it's
really?
about to be transition to it. They're in a transition, that's for sure, man. They definitely are. I saw that. That was a head scratcher to me, but that's the NFL now. It's like these guys get older and the free agent carousel begins and they get let go and it's frustrating because longtime vets that you want to stay behind and have cheered for years, they end up leaving. And I was a Forte fan when he was at Tulane because I was still in New Orleans back then.
Oh yeah.
No, I wasn't in New Orleans back then. I had already moved to Texas, but just followed his career at Tulane and stuff. So I remember when he came out. I mean, hindsight's 2020. People go, yeah, right, you didn't say that. I remember when he got drafted. There was a Bears fan I knew here in Texas. I go, man, y'all got a good running back. He's like, who? I was like, that Forte guy is pretty darn good. Like he just played at Tulane, but believe me, he's good. And sure enough, man, he's had a heck of a career thus far.
Yeah, yeah. And then they made the stupid decision, like, oh, we're gonna let him go. Like we're gonna let you go. You've been breaking records and helping us win games and everything. And when the passing game wasn't working,
Right.
give it to you. But we're gonna make you a free agent. We're gonna let you go. And
Yeah,
I,
we're gonna call it quits.
I say I'm a Bears fan. I like watching the Bears, but it gets so damn hard sometimes to just say like just like what are you doing, man? You're
Yeah,
making it harder to watch you
yeah.
guys on Sundays.
It it's not just the Bears. I've been like that with my team for the last few years, ever since they won the Super Bowl a couple years, but no, 6, 7 years ago now. You get to that point, it's like, oh, come on, can we get with the program? But I guess that's what being a pro sports fan's about. That's part of it. You take the good with the bad. You just hope they win one every now and then.
Yes.
This is how it
and
works.
not and not off based off of luck. Like, oh, they only won because of a field goal. Like, no, you
Right.
want to win in like a decent fashion, like up by 3
Yeah.
touchdowns or something like that. Like, not
Yeah. Not a nail biter.
yeah, not get beat by like 7 and we don't even score. Like, what is this? Is this high school or is this is professional, man? Like,
Right.
this is terrible.
That's right. Hey, before we start wrapping up, because we almost done. You want to go ahead and plug all your social media and where to find you, like on Twitter, and if you're, I know you're on Facebook, but I know sometimes folks, I let people, I let the talent plug their Facebook if they want to, because I know sometimes it's like I've talked to guys and they're like, well, I do Facebook, but I don't have a fan page and I don't really, accept people that aren't family. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. So go ahead and plug all your social media, whatever you want to plug. That way, the fans know where to find you.
Absolutely. Well, if fans want to find me, the easiest way to do that is, of course, my Twitter, Marshe Rockett at M80 Rocket. I'm also on Instagram at Marshe Rockett. Those are my two big ones right off the bat. It's the easiest way I would say for fans to follow my career, talk or hit me up and I'll hit you back, follow you back, all that spiel. For any fans that want to come up to like upcoming shows, I'll be in LaSalle, Illinois, April 9th for the big anniversary 7 show. Always a great time. They've got special guest Brett the Hitman Hart. I can't wait for that.
Man,
I'm ecstatic.
that dude was my favorite. That dude was one of my favorites growing up.
Dude,
I'm just gonna say
yeah,
that. Yeah, I love the Bret Hart, man.
truly the best there is, the best there was, and truly the best there ever will be. No
Yeah.
one like Brett the Hitman Hart. I will also be in Kenosha that Sunday at the famous Brat stop for SSW. For any fans that are in that area, want to come out support Mr. and Matey Marshe Rockett, that would be awesome. So
Cool. You got anything lined up after that at this point? Because this is probably gonna air, Marche. It's the 30th of this one. I got two recorded in front of you. It's probably gonna air like April 19th. You got anything after that? I'll still plug those shows for you though on our social media, from our podcast page though. That way, fans know where to find you. And I'm gonna make an announcement that we recorded the show and everything. But you got anything after like the 19th when this one hits?
for right now, most of those shows are like up in the air. Uh,
Okay.
I don't know if because I don't know again. Just being on the fence for TNA, seeing that like
Yeah.
TNA, who knows? As quickly as I got signed, they might sit up there and say, "Yep, you're debuting tonight." So
Right, right. And you gonna go.
it's like, oh, that was quick. All right, let me just grab the bag and let me just head on
Right.
down there. So
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, here's the thing. So I'm actually kind of known for bringing guys back on. Like with Brian Fury, I had him on. I actually arranged for him to come on before I ever knew he was going to be in the tournament. And then when he was on, when we finally recorded, it was a week before he was going into the tournament. So then I told him, I was like, hey man, after the tournament, I don't care if you win or lose, you can come back on. He's like, cool. So I brought him back on a second time. I've been known to bring guys back on pretty often. So just if you can and if you want and you enjoyed your time, promise me after you make your debut, I can bring you back on and you can talk about your first set of tapings. Obviously, no spoilers on what may be going down from a storyline perspective, but just your experiences and we can talk it up again if you feel like it after your debut happens.
Absolutely, man. I had a great time.
Cool.
This is awesome.
Yeah. No, and man, I'm telling you, I appreciate you coming on because I'm, it's like some guys will come on and have a great time, and others they just don't like doing them. And I know what it is. It's because there's so many now. Everybody's doing one, so
No,
it's
dude, I love
you know,
talking. I love meeting new people. That's the heck. That's a small part of the reason why I got into the business. 'Cause, the
yeah,
travel, the meeting new people, the different experiences you get to have, and just like
yeah,
being able to like share your journey and like share like I mean, it's it's freaking awesome.
yeah,
You get to talk about what you're most passionate about, man. Like and I know
yeah.
like you said, I know a lot of people feel like it's there's so many out there, there's so many podcasts out there, and over time it feels like work to them. But man, if you love what you do, it's like you never have work a day in your life.
That's
I
true.
can talk wrestling all day, all night long. Whether it's about me, whether it's about tryouts, whether it's about like just wrestling in general, like I'll I'll go all freaking day.
I'm kind of the same way when it comes to like talking about what's going on currently, like in WWE or Ring of Honor or TNA. I mean, I can talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Now, eventually I'll get tired. I can't go 4 hours straight,
Yeah.
right? But, but I mean, if you get me on the phone or you sit down with me and I meet someone and I figure out they're a wrestling fan, I'm like, yeah, man, I can hold a 2 hour discussion with them right then and there. And I mean, and at the end of the day, that's all podcasting is. I mean, it's basically a recorded conversation about whatever the topic is that you want to discuss. I mean, it's not truly radio. Um, and that's what makes it fun, man. That's the cool part about it. And like I said, when you guys like you want to come on and tell our story, it makes it even that much easier. It's just fun stuff to talk about. So, nah, I appreciate it, and we will be looking for your debut on Pop and Impact, man. I know it's gonna be some good stuff, and I'm pretty sure you don't even care at this point who they put you in a storyline with. It's like I'm just
Nope,
ready to make my debut.
nope. Everybody's got to go down, man.
Yeah, for
Oh,
real, for
hey, you're
real.
facing this guy. All right. Hand
No, right, no
yep.
problem. Well, that's awesome, man, Marshe. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, check out Marshe on Twitter and check him out on Instagram and connect with him, man. And he will be, who knows? Well, by this point, he wouldn't have made his debut when this airs on April 19th, but it will be coming up shortly. And you heard him here. He said he'd come back on, so we're gonna have him back on at some point after his debut. Marshe, thank you again, man, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
That's going to put a bow on this week's YouTube episode of Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast on our YouTube channel. This conversation and many of our other conversations can be found on our RSS feed for Booking the Territory wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Podcast Addict, or however you get it. Just search Booking the Territory and you can find us. I say that to say if you did enjoy this episode and you are a professional wrestling podcast fan, we hope that you check us out and subscribe to us. We discuss WWE, we discuss TNA and ROH every single week on usually our Tuesday episodes, and we usually have a review. We also welcome our listener feedback via our Twitter page at BTT_podcast, or check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/booking the territory. We love hearing back from our listeners who listen to the show. You can also email the show, bookingtheterritory@gmail.com, and we will be sure to capture your topic, thought, question, idea on air. It's one of the things that we stand by. We want our listeners to be a part of each and every show, so we appreciate you tuning in each and every week if you do subscribe to us. Thanks again. I appreciate it. This is Mike. We will catch you next time on next week's episode. For now, book it.
West Side, Acres Home, Hiram Clark, Fifth Ward, South Park, North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
We taking over.
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 Where you at?
Now that we taking over, gotta wonder what's next. Probably stack a couple of billion at baguettes on the wrist. Pick out a couple of cars, a motorcycle and jet. And if you try to oppose the crew, we breaking your neck. We just now getting it started, but you breaking the sweat. Achieving every accomplishment you aching to get. Like candy up on the whip, you know we making it wet. The kind of money you dream of, but ain't making it yet. Okay, no way, you niggas are gon' stay. Now that I got the juice and they calling me OJ. We don't play, better get hip or you gon' lay down. Cause I get crunk like Lil Jon screaming out. Better get the big picture or I'ma get with ya. But I'm really trying to focus on my cheese and trying to get richer. So getting with a nigga like me gon' take more than running with a posse like Ice-T.
North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
D-Town,
Where you at?
Ag-Town,
Where you at?
GP,
Where you at?
Funky Town,
Where you at?
North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
We taking over.
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 Where you at?
It's J. Clay taking over one verse at a time. Put you down to the grass or on the turf at the line. I make my own crunk beat and throw Little John on it. Trick the whole industry and knock this dough wide open. I'm in the game now, niggas ain't no stopping me. We through the throat as cold as niggas. We young crunk MCs, DVDs on the screen. So these can watch me take a line from this C. And you couldn't see me with little Daryl thick glasses. Spit at goods and Sam Stubbs. Look at my pot of masses. It's drastic, we fantastic. These fans are fanatics. We won't stop, we just ecstatic. Like Reebok, it's a classic. It don't matter, cause it's a matter of fact. We better than that. I mean, producers that you used to can go hard on the track. I'm spitting these facts. We crack back like Bobby Boucher. It's a shame to get in the game, we had to say.
North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
Oak Cliff,
Where you at?
Eastwood,
Where you at?
Stop 6,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
We taking over,
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 Where you at?
Rhino from Fort Worth with the dub in his face. Caprice with D's on it as I slide through the state. Hollywood, Eastwood, Southside, and Como. Get your hands up in the air in case a nigga kick go. Fresh off the Southside, skating down Rosedale. Iceman 22 sitting in the wheel well. She call me Silly Rabbit, see the carrots in my grill. I'm making hot stutter, can we chill? Lil Rusty, Herman Lee, Gold Grills, 10th grade. What's up to Tyler, Texas, Emo, and Super Dave? You can buy it at the trap, or you can sell it at the house. But if you poke your chest out, then we pulling your ball strap. Spectators ask questions, where Rhino guns at? Put it on your T-Jones, my little cousin bust back. If you see me at the show, you can meet me in the stands. Like Ronald Artest, I put my hands on the fans. North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
D-Town,
Where you at?
Ag-Town,
Where you at?
GP,
Where you at?
Funky Town,
Where you at?
North side,
Where you at?
South side,
Where you at?
East side,
Where you at?
West side,
Where you at?
We taking over,
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 Where you at?
Big Slip Records in the house, Supreme Records in the house. I'm sideways on this pimpin', huh? Pink Slip, Supreme Records, Pink Slip.
Okay.